A Father's Promise. Written and copyright by A.A. Castor. Welcome everyone to A.A. Castor Book Club. Today's story is A Father's Promise. Prepare yourselves for an emotional and heart-wrenching journey of love, sacrifice, and resilience. This tale follows a father's unyielding determination to provide for his son amidst the harshest of circumstances, showcasing the unbreakable bond between parent and child. Brace yourselves for a narrative that delves deep into the struggles and triumphs of a man who, despite all odds, never wavers in his promise to give his son a better life. Chapter 1: The Departure. John watched his wife, Marissa, pack her bags. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he blinked them away. Their 5-year-old son, Tommy, clung to his leg, sensing the gravity of the situation. Marissa had met someone else, someone who offered her the excitement and adventure she felt was missing in her life. She turned to John, her face a mix of guilt and determination. "I'm sorry, John," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to find my own happiness. I can't be the wife and mother you need me to be." John nodded, his throat tight with emotion. "Take care, Marissa," he managed to say. "I hope you find what you're looking for." Marissa knelt down and kissed Tommy on the forehead. "Be good for your daddy, okay? I love you, sweetheart." Tommy didn't understand why his mom was leaving, but he nodded, his eyes wide and confused. John hugged his son tightly, promising himself that he would do everything in his power to provide for him. Chapter 2. The Struggle Begins. John's job as a salesman was demanding and unpredictable. Some days he made decent sales, but other days he earned nothing. With Marissa gone, they lost their apartment. John had no choice but to bring Tommy to work with him. They slept in the bathroom at the office, the only place where they could have some privacy. The bathroom was cold and uninviting, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glow on the tiled walls. John laid down a thin blanket on the hard floor, trying to make it as comfortable as possible for Tommy. They huddled together for warmth, the sound of the building's air conditioning system humming in the background. One night, as they lay on the cold floor, Tommy looked up at his father. "Daddy, when can we go home?" John's heart broke a little more. "Soon, buddy. Promise. We just have to be patient and work hard." Days turned into weeks, and the struggle continued. John often skipped meals to ensure Tommy had enough to eat. His colleagues noticed his gaunt appearance and the dark circles under his eyes, but he brushed off their concerns. He couldn't afford to lose his job. Chapter 3. Sacrifices and Determination. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, John managed to scrape together enough money for a small meal. He bought a sandwich and some juice, intending to share it with Tommy. But as they sat down to eat, he saw the hunger in his son's eyes. "Here, Tommy. You eat first," John said, handing over the food. "Aren't you hungry, Daddy?" Tommy asked, already taking a bite. "I had a big lunch," John lied, forcing a smile. "You need to grow big and strong." As Tommy ate, John felt a mix of pride and despair. He was doing everything he could, but it never felt like enough. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how much longer he could keep going. The next morning, as John prepared for another day of work, Tommy tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, why do we have to sleep here? Can't we go somewhere nicer?" John knelt down, looking into his son's eyes. "I know it's hard, Tommy, but this is just temporary. I'm working hard to make things better for us. You believe me, right?" Tommy nodded, hugging his father tightly. "I believe you, Daddy." Chapter 4. A Glimmer of Hope. Despite the hardships, John never gave up. He attended every sales training session, read books on improving his techniques, and networked tirelessly. Slowly, his efforts began to pay off. He made more sales, built a loyal customer base, and started earning a steadier income. One day, his boss called him into the office. "John, I've noticed your dedication and hard work. You've been one of our top performers lately. How would you like a promotion?" John felt a surge of hope. Thank you, sir, I would be honored. The promotion came with a raise, and John was finally able to afford a small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was a home. He set up a cozy corner for Tommy with a bed and toys, and for the first time in months, they slept in a proper bed. That evening, as they sat in their new apartment, Tommy looked around with wide eyes. Is this our new home, Daddy? Yes, it is, John replied, tears of relief streaming down his face. No more sleeping on the bathroom floor. This is our home now. Tommy hugged his father tightly. Thank you, Daddy. I love you. John hugged him back, his heart swelling with emotion. I love you too, Tommy. We're going to be okay. Chapter 5. Building a New Life. With their new home, life began to improve. John continued to work hard, and Tommy started school. Every evening, John helped his son with homework, cherishing the moments they spent together. They still had tough days, but the future looked brighter. One evening, Tommy brought home a drawing from school. It was a picture of him and John, smiling and holding hands. Look, Daddy, I drew us. John's eyes filled with tears as he looked at the drawing. It's beautiful, Tommy. I'm so proud of you. Tommy hugged his father tightly. I'm proud of you too, Daddy. John marveled at his son's resilience. Despite everything they had been through, Tommy remained hopeful and full of love. It gave John the strength to keep going, knowing that his efforts were making a difference. Their new routine included regular meals, bedtime stories, and weekend outings to the park. John watched with pride as Tommy made friends and excelled in school. They still faced challenges, but they faced them together. Chapter 6. The Promise Fulfilled. Years passed, and John's hard work continued to pay off. He earned a significant promotion, allowing him to buy a small house in a safe neighborhood. Tommy grew into a bright, happy young man, excelling in school and sports. One day, as they sat on the porch of their new home, Tommy turned to John. Daddy, do you remember when we used to sleep in the office bathroom? John nodded, a lump forming in his throat. I remember, son. Tommy smiled. You never gave up, did you? John shook his head. No, Tommy. I promised you a better life, and I meant it. As they watched the sunset together, John felt a profound sense of fulfillment. Despite all the hardships, he had kept his promise. He had given his son a good life, filled with love and hope. And in the end, that was all that mattered. Tommy hugged his father tightly. Thank you, Daddy, for everything. John hugged him back, tears streaming down his face. You're welcome, son. You've made it all worth it. The bond between John and Tommy had grown stronger through their struggles, and they had come out the other side more resilient and grateful for the simple joys in life. John's heart swelled with pride and love as he looked at his son, knowing that they had faced the storm together and emerged victorious. In the quiet moments, as they sat together, John reflected on their journey. He had given everything for his son, and in return, he had received the greatest gift of all, the unwavering love and respect of his child. It was a testament to the power of perseverance and the unbreakable bond between a father and his son. John often reminisced about their journey, sharing stories with Tommy about their difficult days. Do you remember the time we only had one sandwich, and I told you I'd already eaten? John asked one evening. Tommy nodded, his eyes glistening. I remember, Dad. I knew you were lying, but I ate it because you wanted me to. John smiled, a mix of pride and sadness washing over him. You were always so brave, Tommy. You've grown into such a fine young man. Their conversations were filled with love and respect, each word strengthening the bond between them. John never stopped marveling at his son's resilience and the love that had carried them through the darkest of times. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, please share this podcast with your friends and rate it on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to visit my website at www.tonyc.info for more content, updates, and exclusive behind-the-scenes insights. This podcast is mainly supported by listeners like you. If you want to help keep the stories coming, consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/JTAC. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference and helps me continue to create the content you love. Thank you again for listening. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, stay safe and keep exploring the unknown.